So this has become my favorite time of the day. I get to re-engage with people I know, people who have had an impact on my life in one way or another, close friends, serious business people. The guy sitting across the screen from me, check, check, check. He also is one badass golfer, which just is part of the story. Rich Rogers and I met what feels like a lifetime ago,
Yeah.
but he's an amazing human being. And I want to start off with the story of the century. Any of you who have seen me speak live or in some of my videos, you know I refer to him all the time. Rich was part of a big company. The CEO of the company said, "Hey, I want you to work with my top guy." I go down the hallway and I meet Rich Rogers and we hit it off. He's a sports guy. We're getting along. And he says, "I want to build a marketing plan only to deal with CEOs that play golf." And I like sit back and imagine this is 10 years ago. Man, I look at
15,
myself
15 actually.
years ago. I go, dude, when you want to get serious about a conversation with me, call me back. And I basically leave. And in my head, I'm going, this guy is out of his mind. There's all these people he can sell benefits to. He's telling me about just people who play golf. Well, you know what? I thought about it and I thought about it. I went back to him and I said, tell me more about what you're thinking. The outcome of that conversation is not only Rich is one of my best friends, he is one of the coolest people in the space, but he operates an organization called 6 Degrees of Golf. I'm done talking. Rich Rogers, tell me something good.
Well, I'm actually going to tell you two things that are good, and I hope I can take your time on that. Number one, before I not mention my wife Kim, if she saw a recording and I didn't mention her name, she'd absolutely
Good for you.
So
good for you.
She is the foundation, of my success, over the years, and I could have never done it with her. When you get in sales in the beginning years, it's lean, brother. And I had a wife who was a nurse who was banging in that regular weekly income, which pretty much paid all our bills. And then the tables got turned on me because now I'm paying all the bills and she's sitting by the pool. So it actually worked out pretty good. And then, you're something good, buddy. I mean that, I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because when I started 6 Degrees, it was an idea. And the first 10 people that I went to, I gave them the outline of what I wanted to do. Every single one said, "I'm in, whatever the cost is, whatever we're doing, make me a part of that." And in the beginning, it was just guys showing up to play golf. There was no structure. There was no name. There was nothing. But the very last event of the first year, we had 24 guys there. And it was me and Britt Sykes, and Britt well. And we had 3 tables of 8. We were all having lunch. They were all owners of companies. Britt came over to me and he says, I really don't know what the hell we did, but this thing works.
This worked.
You actually came to the first event that following year, because the first year, Steve, we were getting like 7 guys and 6 guys and 8 guys. But there was no structure. There was no emails. It was like, you bring a couple, I'll bring a couple, and then they don't show. But that second year you came, and I'll never forget what you said. You said, "Dude, this thing will work, but you need a name." And I was like, "Look, I sell insurance and I play golf, but I don't know how to name. I don't want to name it. I don't want to do anything." And you said, "Look, I'll name it. I'll do the logo. I'll do all the marketing. Just let me be a part of it." That's exactly what you said.
That's exactly what I said.
I said, "You're in." So that was the birth of 6 Degrees. And we're in our 15th year.
Insane. 15 years.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And, take the virus out, because this year is an anomaly. And, we'll look back on it just like we look back on 2001. And when we were in the middle of 2001, I mean, it was a war, man. I had an office off of Pine Island and 595, and I was watching the planes fly in from west to east. and I was waiting for one to take a turn.
Yeah.
So in the middle of that, it was pretty crazy. Now we look back on it, we got through, and it's nothing. And the same thing here, you know, within a period of time, if it's 1 month or 1 year or whatever, we'll be back to normal. We'll be shaking hands again, and we'll be hugging again. I don't care what people say. But this is a crazy time. But up until now, you know, I was hosting 32 events a year. I get introduced to about 250 owners of companies who play golf or who want to learn golf, because we have a whole new mecca now. We're actually teaching golf. So we're attracting the non-golfers who understand that golf can be a great platform for meeting people. And I'm having fun. You know, it's like my daytime job is selling insurance, and we're good in that space. But my passion is 6 degrees golf. I could talk 6 degrees golf all day to everybody.
So I remember in the beginning, the tagline was the most important part for me. I mean, 6 degrees, we sort of stole a little thunder from Kevin Bacon. Now, this was pre-social media. There was no social media. So this was a really unbelievable way to get face-to-face. Do you remember the tagline?
You know, I don't, because I haven't used it in quite a few years. But what
business is a contact sport.
Right.
So it was
golf
like,
you know what it was? Golf is not a contact sport, but business is.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because if you wanted to, at that point, if you wanted to meet C-level executives, it was hard to break down the door. This was a way you were getting them. And I can actually point to the deals that I got just from hanging out, playing golf. You know, that cool. Whatever day it was, we went out there and met 30 other guys. We had, you know, and it was a whole day, man. We'd have education, we'd play golf, we'd have lunch, and then people wouldn't leave. They would just hang out.
Right. Yeah, we had you captive from like 7:30 to about 3:30 in the afternoon.
It was unbelievable.
So,
it was
And
unbelievable.
it was a Friday, so everybody blew off the rest of the day.
And you reminded me that not this past year, but the year before, I actually played golf with you for the first time in a long time.
And I knew you came on your birthday.
Right.
And you brought Mark.
Right.
And when I was reaching out to you after the first of the year, I said, man, I just saw him in November. You know, and then I looked up your birthday and I said, wow, it was June. I can't believe it was like 8 months ago. And you were even blown away by that too. So yeah, it was June 24th.
June 28th is my birthday.
28th. Like, I was close.
I just turned 60, which is kind of incredible. But you know, for me, the lesson that's so significant and why I share it on stage is you proved out long before social media, long before the book, The Tipping Point, which was, you know, Malcolm Gladwell's really pre-social media piece that says basically, if you connect with people who have the same passion, that's the start of great relationships, which is what relationship selling is.
Absolutely.
And so you mastered that you could have a conversation with somebody about golf first, and then earn the right to talk about their business, what they were doing in benefits, stuff like that, which is absolutely brilliant because you didn't even really know what you were doing. You were just playing golf, having a good time.
You know, all I wanted to do, and this is a true story, I was having lunch with Britt in December of 2005. And Britt, as you know, is a great golfer. But because him and Sean were, you know, running 1,000,000 miles a minute, those guys were working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. He wasn't playing golf. And I said to him, I said, let me ask you a question. Now, this is like a 4 handicap golfer who could shoot even par. Okay. He'll never admit that. Sure. And I said to him, how many times did you play golf this past year? And he said, once.
Wow.
And I said, all right, that's bullshit. You know, next year we're going to pick 6 dates. You're going to bring 3 guys. I'm going to bring 3 guys. You're going to play 7 times instead of once. And we're going to have a blast. I'm going to meet your guys. You're going to meet my guys. That's how it started.
And that's brilliant.
And he was like, this is really cool. And that last event that year, it was like 24 guys. And I had no idea that it would even blow into that. And if you would have told me 15 years ago that it would turn into what it is today with no intention whatsoever, I would have said no way.
So for the sake of my audience, there is the original 6 Degrees that I was in. Then there's another one for ladies, correct? Why don't you share the breadth of all of the people, because at least the local audience can still participate.
Gotcha. So what happened is we started getting a lot of interest, and I was trying to keep it one profession at a time, one CPA, one attorney, so on and so forth. And then I started getting so many people that were interested, but I only had 24 slots to play golf on a Friday at Grand Oaks, which they were pretty precious at the time. And I just knew that this couldn't explode because I had so few spots to play golf. And I went back to the drawing board and I said, well, why don't we just make another group? I said, let me just make another group. So I called all the people. I called it On the Bench. Got that from you.
Love it.
And I put all the names on the people that had interest, and then literally called them back and said, hey, I'm forming a new group. The first meeting is going to be X. Would you be interested? And again, everybody I called said who, what, and when, and how much it's going to cost me. So I was like, wow, this is like pretty easy. So now I have 3 groups, about 90 members, about 30 members in each group.
Love it.
And the solid number is 32, because 1/3 of the group is just not going to show to that month's meeting. That's just the dynamics of the power of numbers. So I'm always getting at the meetings 20 to 25 is that critical number, or you want the room energetic enough to where people are, feel a vibe, but you don't want it too small and you don't want it too big. So I found out that like 24 is just that critical. So 30 get me 22 plus or minus 2. Okay. So I got the dynamics out, excellent. But I literally get introduced to 250 people a year, 250 new people.
Which is insane. I mean, if you think about it, that's the best marketing, investment or activity you can. Now, back in my day, there was a charitable component. You're still doing something with, trying to do something for golf or give back. There is a give back, correct?
What I try to do is support First Tee, of Broward as much as possible. And Jack Bloomfield has become a friend over the years. And, we know Eddie Carbone really well. And we helped Jack actually attain that position many, many years ago. So any charitable stuff that we're doing is going back, to that, because I was an inner city kid learning how to play golf with a middle-class family in a where all my friends were nuts playing golf, playing, baseball, football, basketball. And then I got interested into this golf thing, and they were all like, dude, why are you playing golf? But then I just got really good at it, and I started winning everything, as a young kid, which propelled into high school golf. And then I played, golf in college. And then at 22, I said, you know what? I didn't further my education. I was just done at school. And I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
When you're 22, you're like, I'm done with school. And I told my father, I said, I'm going to move to Florida and play golf. And he looked at me. Now, Steve, knowing what I did when I was 22, if I had a kid that said he would do that and I'm living up in Philadelphia, I would say, you're fucking crazy. I mean, you got to be nuts. So I moved to South Florida knowing one person in Dania, 175 hours in my pocket, everything that I owned in a 72 Chevy Impala, no job, no cell phone, nothing. This is 1978, 42 years ago.
Wow.
And I showed up on the guy's doorstep, and my first job was Dania Highlight.
Wow. Wow, you really did.
Many years ago, valet parking cars, and played golf Yeah, played golf every day and rented a place and made enough money to pay my bills, but play golf every day.
And the rest is
which was spectacular as a 22-year-old.
So I want to make sure that we touch on this. You've had lots of sales influencers in your life, people who have mentored you and taught you and did. You and I have had a conversation about a book that's your favorite book, and I would be remiss if I didn't, tee you up, excuse the pun, but to talk about that book, the book that we marketed together. And so if you could share that story.
Yeah, that's a tremendous story, and it's actually very spiritual, believe it or not.
Oh no,
I was struggling in the business, having a tough time, paying the bills, and everybody's been there. And I think you appreciate the good times because you had bad times, and you know what bad times are all about. And I was to the point where I was almost going to quit the business and go into something else. And I got a letter from a Fortune 500 company, went through the interview process with them. They hired me on the 5th interview with the pretense that I would read the book, Greatest Salesman in the World. Because I had never read it. And the sales manager says, I won't even hire you unless you read The Greatest Salesman in the World. I literally left his office, went to Barnes & Noble, bought the hardcover book, read it in a day, called him the next morning and said, hey, that was like one of the greatest books I ever read. So he goes, you already read it? And I said, dude, I left your office, went to, bought it, read it. And he says, all right, you're hired, come in on Wednesday. So we had this Wednesday call day. And all you did from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. is you called people all day and you're setting up your next week. So when you walk in on Monday, your minimum amount of appointments that they wanted was 10. We would make 12, 15, 18. Wow. I had a philosophy, 10, 3, 1. It was all mapped out with numbers. You've been there, you know it. And the more appointments you started getting leads, I get a lead from this guy who's 81 years old. Okay. We were selling life insurance up to 79. So I go in my sales manager's office. I go, dude, I says, I'm busting my ass over here. You give me a lead to an 81-year-old guy. What's wrong with you? He goes, sit down. I go, oh boy, I'm in trouble. He goes, look at the name. I look at the name. He goes, where does he live? I said, Hillcrest Drive. He says, you're a member at Hillcrest Country Club. You're the club champ at Hillcrest. Do you think he probably plays golf? Do you think he knows your name? And how many people can an 81-year-old know? So I said, got it. I understand. So I call this guy, Fred Fell. And it's an intriguing story. And I think I told you the story.
Of course you did.
The guy had an office at 19th and Harrison in Hollywood. I drive down as I walk into this office. Steve, it's a telephone booth. But the whole office is filled with books from the floor up to the ceiling. He's got a desk with 2 chairs, very big smile on his face. Sit down, young man. Tell me about yourself. So we started talking. I said, Mr. Fell, I said, I'm really scared here. If any of these books fall, we're both going to die. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Don't worry about it. They've been there for years. You're going to be okay. So I start playing golf with this guy. Every Thursday morning at 9 a.m., we play 9 holes. My office was right around the corner, right on Park in Hollywood Boulevard. We were playing golf at Hillcrest, right on Washington, as you know. And we started meeting weekly. And I was talking about my sales manager. He's really helping me. I'm doing very well. He goes, bring your sales manager to next week golf. So I do that. We're sitting there. Now, this is the guy that was promoting the Og Mandino book. And he never hired a sales guy for 25 years who didn't read that book. So we're sitting down and I go, Fred, this is after golf, you were a publisher. He says, yeah, New York City for many, many years. I go, what's the greatest book that you ever published? you know, and he scratches his chin for a minute and he goes, has to be the greatest salesman in the world.
I love
My
it.
sales manager almost fell off his chair. He goes, you got to be kidding me. So we leave and he's looking at me and he goes, dude, this shit just doesn't happen,
It
man.
didn't happen,
He
right?
says, I've been pushing this book for 25 years. You're the publisher. I go home and I look at my book, and on the back of the book, it has Fell Publishing, Hollywood, Florida. You know, and he signed it for me inside. But you know, it's a spiritual story because the ideology of it and the probability of meeting this guy is highly unlikely, but it all circumvents, you know, and things happen for a reason.
I love it. I love it. And I you know,
And then I give that book to every
story,
single person that comes to 6 degrees, and you print them for me. So
because of that story, you know, I'm a guy
neat story.
that believes in the laws of attraction, and I think that certainly qualifies as what you put out, you get back. You're a shining example of what great salespeople, great sales leadership is. I'm blessed that you're in my life. I treasure our friendship. I'm thrilled that you shared so much good today. Is there any last parting thought you want to share with the audience about how to get in touch with you or why to get in touch with you? Because I would love for someone to reach out and have a coffee with you and hear your stories.
Yeah, I mean, 6degreesgolf.com. The numeral 6 is our website. I own a company called On Course Insurance, of course, no pun intended. You helped with the name of that way back when. And my email address is rich@oncourseinsurance.com. Pretty simple, but you know, we'd love to have anybody who's interested in golf, who wants to further their business. We'd love to meet them.
You're an awesome dude. I'm gonna, as soon as we get through this crap, I'm coming back.
Fantastic. But you know, thanks for the time. This was really cool. Love you, buddy. Have a great day.
You be good, man. See you.
All right, pal.